It's time for the game that takes you back in time. Let's go back. And now, here's the host of Let's Go Back, Scott Sternberg.
Thank you very much. How are you doing? How are you out there? Welcome to Let's Go Back. We have some great questions today and some players here who think they know the answers. We have Steve and Dan and Margaret. How you feel today?
Great.
Terrific.
Okay, Steve, tell us about yourself.
My name's Steve Liebus. I am a recent transplant to Los Angeles from San Francisco, where I moved down with my wife and one child. Left one in San Francisco and a new one since we've been here.
Anything else you can add to that?
No more on the way. None are planned, thanks.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know that, Steve. How about nostalgia? Which decade are you the strongest in?
Most definitely the 70s. Most definitely the 70s. Those were the wonder years. I wondered how I got there, how I survived them, and really overall grew up in them.
Well, good luck today. Hopefully 70s will be strong for you. Dan.
I'm Dan Falmley, and I'm a Mr. Mom right now with a 2.5-year-old boy who's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He's
nice.
wonderful. Tell you.
And as Mr. Mom, what do you enjoy the most? The laundry, the dishes, making the beds, what?
Teaching him to play baseball. That's what I like doing.
But other than that, the laundry, the beds, the thing.
Well, I took good lessons. I watch soaps like my wife used to, and do well with that.
Okay, good.
Laundry's okay, though.
All right, good luck to you today, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Margaret, how are you doing in a bright green sweater?
Well, this is my lucky bright green sweater.
Oh, good.
My name is Margaret Hernandez, and I'm a student at Cal State LA. I'm from Bellflower, California.
And a nostalgia nut?
Yes, a nostalgia nut. I love to collect little knickknacks and things. I have a Roy Rogers Dale Evans lunch pail and matching thermos.
I had a Roy Rogers lunch
You
pail. I
did?
swear I did. Honestly, what are those worth now these days?
I don't know. I'm not selling mine.
Okay. Well, good luck to you today. Margaret, Dan, and Steve, we're going to take a look at the categories now for round number 1. And they are leading ladies of film, The Beatles, teamwork, switching sexes, and TV by the numbers. 10 points for each correct answer. We're going to take 10 points away if you don't get it right. We also have a hidden time capsule behind one of our decades with a great prize. Charlie O, tell us what's hidden.
Everybody liked President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And these 3 pieces of history will let you show just how much. Included in this set is the Ike in 56 button, the I Like Ike tie clip, and the very rare Ike earrings. Never before has a Republican been accessorized quite like this. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, before the show, we drew some numbers, and Steve, you won. Therefore, you get to pick the first decade, the first category, and let's go back.
Well, let's get lucky. I like Ike, too. How about the 70s, the Beatles?
All right, the Beatles, my favorite. In 1974, John Lennon recorded this #1 song with the help of Elton John. Oh, tough one right off the bat. Whatever gets you through the night. Okay, Steve, go again.
Well, let's see. That didn't work. Let's go, 60s, switching sexes. That sounds interesting.
Okay, from the Beatles to sexes. One of the most famous characters created by this wacky comedian was sweet little old Maude Frickert. Dan.
Jonathan Winters?
Yes, Jonathan Winters,
Right.
you're on the board. First, Dan, pick again.
Let's stick with switching sexes for the 50s.
When Uncle Milty put on a dress on national TV, he became a major star for this sponsor. Steve.
Texaco.
Yes, Texaco, the Texaco Star Theater. Go again.
Let's do 70s, TV by the numbers, please.
What sexy 70s sitcom was based on a British series, A Man About the House? Dan.
Three's Company?
Yeah, it was Three's Company.
right.
Good. You're in the lead. Go again.
Let's try leading ladies of the film for the 60s.
When Patty Duke won Best Supporting Actress for playing Helen Keller, this star won Best Actress as Annie Sullivan. Margaret.
Anne Bancroft.
And your green sweater. Correct. 10 points. You're on the board. Go again, Margaret.
Okay, Scott, let's go back to the 80s for leading ladies of film.
It was her second Best Actress Oscar that caused her to say, "You like me. You really like me." Margaret.
Sally Field.
Yes, it was Sally Field. You remember the name of the film?
For the second Oscar, it was Places in the Heart.
Yes, Places in the Heart. Great. Let's take a break right here in round number 1. Let's take a look at the scores. Margaret and Dan tied for lead with 20. Steve has 10. We'll be back with more of Let's Go Back right after this.
Let's go back. Once again, more of let's go back with Scott Sternberg.
Okay, welcome back. We're in the middle of round number 1 with Margaret and Dan tied for the lead. Before we go any further, though, give us a little story on that sweater. It's so green.
Well, actually, I paid 90 cents for it at a thrift store.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good. Well, hopefully it'll bring you more luck today. You're in the lead, and you have control, so why don't you go? Pick again.
Okay, Scott, let's see. Let's go back to the 70s for leading ladies of film.
She started a fashion trend as Annie Hall. Margaret.
Diane Keaton.
Yes, it was Diane Keaton. Now, Margaret, you have the lead. Pick again.
Okay, that's my lucky category, so let's go back to the 50s for leading ladies of film.
Closing out this category, she won her only Oscar for playing a princess who runs off on a Roman holiday. Margaret.
Audrey Hepburn.
Yes, Audrey Hepburn's good. Doing well now, Margaret.
right.
That sweater is paying off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna try the 60s for the Beatles.
The press gave the radical hairstyle worn by the Beatles this name. Steve.
Mop tops.
Mop top is right. Did you have a mop top in the 60s?
No, in the 16s, I don't think my parents would have permitted that.
I see.
I was a little young yet.
You were too young. Okay.
Too young to say no. Oh,
Okay, Steve, go.
I learned. 80s, please, the Beatles.
Beatles in the 80s. John and Yoko were residents of this famous New York building. Steve.
The Dakota.
Yes, they lived in the Dakota. Pick again.
Let's try 70s teamwork, please.
Lieutenant Mike Stone and Detective Steve Keller were the popular police team on this series. Margaret.
The Streets of San Francisco.
Yes, it was the streets in San Francisco. Carl Malden was Stone and Michael Douglas was Keller. Do you know who replaced Michael Douglas when he left?
Yes, it was Richard Hatch.
Oh, she's good. Richard Hatch is right.
All my
Correct answer.
children.
Okay, Margaret, pick again.
Okay, well, let's go back to the 80s for teamwork.
Okay. On Miami Vice, Don Johnson played Sonny Crockett and Philip Michael Thomas played this character. Dan.
Tubbs?
Yes, Rico Tubbs. 10 more points for you, Dan. Pick again.
Okay, let's get rid of the Beatles in the 50s.
Let's get rid of the Beatles.
Get rid of the Beatles.
I'll never get rid of the Beatles. In 1957, 4 years before the Beatles became its house band, this hotspot opened in Liverpool. Dan.
Cavern?
Yes, the Cavern Club. Go again, Dan.
Okay, switching sexes for the 70s.
And it's the time capsule, Dan. All right, this time capsule is going to be worth 20 points. You also have a chance for the I Like Ike gift set.
Want it.
Okay.
Want it.
This is going to be for you. Margaret, Steve, you got to sit this one out. Remember, we're not taking any points away if you miss it. 70s, switching sexes. Corporal Klinger wore women's clothes hoping to be discharged on a Section 8, which would send him back to what hometown?
Toledo.
Toledo, Ohio is
Come on.
right. Good, Dan. Good job. That's good. And Steve knew that as well. Okay, now, Dan, you have control. Pick again.
Okay, let's do TV by the numbers for the 60s.
Martin Milner and George Maharis tooled around the country via this highway. Dan.
Route 66.
Yes, it was Route 66. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, let's stick with TV by the numbers for the 50s.
Back in the 50s, this was the business address and title of the popular weekly series starring Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Dan again.
77 Sunset Strip.
Yes, it was 77 Sunset Strip. Who else was in that show? You remember?
Oh, Eddie Kooky Burns?
Ed Kooky Burns.
Oh, okay.
Remember Roger Smith?
Yeah.
Married to
Margaret. Oh, what was her
Margaret
name?
Ann, or...
Ann Margaret. She
That's
could
good,
dance.
Dan. That's right.
Bye-bye birds. That's it. Bye-bye birds.
Okay, Dan, still in control. Pick again.
Teamwork for the 60s.
Adam West played Batman on the 60s series, but who played Robin? Dan?
Burt Ward.
Burt Ward.
Right.
Right. Go.
Teamwork for the 50s.
Closing out this category, on The Honeymooners, Ralph was married to Alice, and Norton was married to this woman. Dan again.
Trixie?
Yeah, Trixie,
All right.
played by...
No clue. No clue.
No clue.
Trixie.
Joyce Randolph.
I should have
Some
known
extra stuff for you. Go again, Dan.
that. Okay, TV by the numbers for the 80s.
Okay. Jeff Goldblum and Ben Vereen played a stockbroker and a con artist in this series. Dan.
10-speed and brown shoes.
Yes, 10-speed and brown shoe. Good for you. Last question now, round number 1. 80s, switching sexes. Tom Hanks, disguised as Buffy, shared a room in an all-girl hotel with Hildegard, played by this co-star. Margaret.
Peter Scolari.
Yes, Peter Scolari and Bosom Buddies. And that's the end of round number 1. Let's take a look at the scores. Dan and Lee with 110, Margaret's got 60, Steve's got 30. We'll be back with round number 2 where everything doubles, and we'll do that right after this.
Let's go back.
Now we go back to the game, and we have Dan with 110, Margaret's got 60, Steve's got 30. It's time to look at the categories for round number 2, and they are game shows, the ad biz, musical numbers, our top story tonight, and time, okay? 20 points now for each correct answer, but we take 20 away if you are incorrect. Another prize is hidden in the time capsule behind one of the decades. Charlie O'Donnell, help me.
You'll be in sweat hog heaven with this John Travolta superstar doll. This 1977 action figure allows you to bend his legs and move his waist. Pose him any way you like. He's tough, he's cool, and he could be yours. Back to you, Scott.
Okay, Charlie, thank you. Here we go, ready to go. And Margaret, you are in control, therefore let's go back with you. Pick a category and decade, and we'll be rolling.
Okay, let's go back to the 80s for game shows.
In November of 1982, Vanna White took the place of this original letter lady. Ooh, toughy, toughy. Susan Stafford. Who did Pat Sajak take the place of?
Chuck Woolery?
Yes, Chuck Woolery. No points, though, Dan. Sorry. Oh, boy. Go ahead, Margaret. Pick again.
Okay, let's go back to the 80s for musical numbers.
In the film of the same name, Dolly Parton sang about the trials of making a living in this song. Margaret.
9 to 5.
Yes, 9 to 5, starring?
Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton.
Correct. Good. Go ahead, Margaret. Yeah, a little applause for Margaret. Fine.
Okay,
Pick again.
let's go back to the 70s for musical numbers.
Paul Simon advised us to slip out the back jack, make a new plan stand in this song. Steve.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Yes, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Can you add another phrase to that?
Jeez, no. No, I can't do it.
You guys remember any phrases?
Without the back, Jack.
Hop on the bus, Gus.
Gus.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, I think I'll take the 70s, our top story tonight.
70s, our top story tonight. Born in England, the first test tube baby, a girl, was named this. Steve.
It was Emily Brown?
No. Margaret.
Louise Brown.
Yes, Louise Brown. Go again, Margaret.
That green sweater. I've got $1, I'll pay for it.
Make a profit.
Okay, let's go back to the 80s for time.
At the end of a day, when it was time to relax and have a beer, it was this time. Dan.
Happy hour.
Partially right, not what we were looking for. Margaret.
It was Miller time.
Yes, it was Miller time.
Well,
Go again, Margaret.
Okay, let's try, let's go back to the 80s for the ad biz.
If you don't look good, we don't look good, is the motto of this hairdresser. Dan?
Vidal Sassoon.
Yes, Fidel Sassoon. Pick again.
Let's go to game shows in the 50s.
Every day this host would say, how would you like to be queen for a day? Dan?
Jack. Oi. That's not it.
Jack Oy is not correct. Steve, Margaret. Nobody, huh? Jack Bailey.
Bailey.
Jack Bailey. Okay, Dan, you're still in control.
Okay, let's get away from game shows for me. Time in the 50s.
This is the answer to the question, say, kids, what time is it? Dan?
It's howdy doody time.
Yes, howdy doody time. You remember who the first Clarabelle was?
Willard Scott?
Willard Scott.
I mean, no,
You
Captain
guys remember?
Kangaroo.
That's right, Bob Keeshan, Captain Kangaroo. Pick again.
Let's try time in the 60s.
And it's the time capsule, Dan.
I want that John
All right.
Travolta.
Yeah, you get that John Travolta
You
doll,
bet.
and in this time it's worth 40 points. We're going to double it. And Steve and Margaret, you're out of this one. 60s, time. This was the first Rolling Stones song to break the top 10 in the U.S.
Under My Thumb.
No, not Under My Thumb. Time was the category. Time is on my
On my
side.
side.
Time is on my side. Okay, Dan, go again.
By John Travolta. Okay, time for the 70s.
Finishing out this category. In all that jazz, every morning when Roy Scheider would look into the mirror, he would repeat this phrase. Margaret.
It's showtime,
It's
folks.
showtime is right. Go again, Margaret.
Okay, let's go back to the 60s for musical numbers.
Exordium and Terminus was the subtitle of this Zager and Evans hit. They're thinking. There's the buzzer. In the year 2525. Terrible singer. Go. Pick
Okay.
again, Margaret.
Let's go back to the 70s for the ad biz.
This product was the subject of the commercial that exclaimed, "I can't believe I ate the whole thing." Steve.
Alka-Seltzer.
Yes, Alka-Seltzer. Go again.
Let's do 60s ad biz, please.
Do it faster, do it better with this funny-sounding hair care product. Steve.
Dippity-doo?
Yes, dippity-doo. Good.
Good one.
You got him right at the end. Go again, Steve.
I don't remember what my sister gooped her head with. 50s ad biz, please.
They said a little dabble do you about this hair product. Dan.
Brill cream.
Yes, Brill cream. The girls will all pursue you. They love to get their fingers in your hair. Remember that one?
Yep.
You didn't use that stuff, did you?
No, never.
Go ahead, Dan.
I had a flat top. Our top story tonight, 50s.
On January 19th, 1953, the same day little Ricky was born to the Ricardos, this real-life counterpart was born. Margaret.
Desi Arnaz Jr.
Yes, it was Desi Arnaz Jr. Margaret, go again.
Let's go back to the 80s for our top story tonight.
At Loma Linda Medical Center in 1984, baby Faye received a heart from one of these animals. Dan.
Baboon?
Yes, baboon. Pick again.
Okay, let's do musical numbers for the 50s.
I owe my soul to the company store was the refrain of this Tennessee Ernie Ford hit. Dan.
16 tons.
Yes, 16 tons, and what do you get? Go again, Dan.
I'll take 70s game shows.
Okay? Wild and Wacky Rip Taylor hosted a popular spoof of a game show with this chintzy title. Ooh, the $1.98 beauty pageant.
Check there.
All right, Dan, still in control. Pick again.
Let's get those game shows out of here in the 60s.
Okay. On the original Jeopardy, Art Fleming was the host, and this man was the announcer. Dan.
Hugh Downs.
No. Not Hugh Downs. Margaret. Steve. Saturday Night Live's Don Pardo. Don Pardo. Okay, Dan, still in control. Oh, we have one question left.
Okay.
It's 60s, our top story tonight. After her husband's election, but before the inauguration, Jackie Kennedy gave birth to this child. Steve.
John Jr.
Yes, John Kennedy, and that's the end of our second round. Take a look at the scores. Margaret in the lead by 10, 160. Dan with 150. Steve's got 90. We'll be back with the all-important decades round to find out who wins the game, and we'll do that right after this.
Let's go back to rock.
Once again, more fun in your favorite decades on Let's Go Back.
All right, it's time now for the final decades round. We're going to find our winner right now. Margaret, you are in the lead, 160 points. You will need 4 correct answers for the win. Dan, just 10 points behind. 5 correct answers will win it for you. And Steve, you're going to need 6 correct answers, okay?
I need that sweater is what I need.
You need that sweater. All right, first one to do that gets $500 in cash. Remember, all the answers here are in the form of decades. Ready to go? First question. In which decade was cigarette advertising banned from radio and TV? Steve.
70s.
Yes, 1970. In which decade did the U.S. launch the first weather satellite? Margaret.
The 60s.
Yes, 1960, Tyros 1. In which decade did Harry Morgan become Jack Webb's dragnet partner? Margaret.
In the 60s.
Yes, 1967. In which decade did Valerie Bertinelli become Mrs. Van Halen? Margaret again.
In the 80s.
Yes, 1981. Margaret, you need just one more for the win. In which decade were 12,000 striking air traffic controllers fired? Margaret again.
In the 80s.
1981 is right, and Margaret, you swept right through it. $500 for you. Good. Good job, Dan. Good job, Steve. Listen, before we go now, you know, Margaret, that green sweater was worth 90 cents before you came here. What you paid for it. What do you think it's worth now? You guys have any other offers?
$5?
$5 now, okay. Congratulations, you're a winner.
Thank
Dan,
you, Scott.
thanks so much. You get
Thank
that
you.
I Like Ike gift set.
That's great.
Steve, thanks
Wonderful.
for playing. Join us next time on Let's Go Back, where only the decades remain the same. I'm Scott Sternberg. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Let's go back, bom, dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, bom, let's go back. Bom, dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, bom, let's go.
Some of our contestants will receive Pasta Mama, brings convenience to gourmet cooking with its designer line of pasta, from fettuccine alfredo to dessert pastas and sauces. All cholesterol-free. Call 1-800-456-4045. And Concord's exciting neon lights 35mm camera has built-in electronic flash and is focus-free. Plus the neon point-and-shoot 110 pocket camera, sold nationally by Concord Camera.
Bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, bom, let's go back. Bom, dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, bom, let's go back. Bom, dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, 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 dee-doo, 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 bom, bom, let's